A little intro and then we Good morning. This is Loretta Sernowski. We're coming to you live from Rocky Point, Mexico. I'm with Remax Legacy. We haven't had a podcast in a while just because it's been a busy holiday season, and now we are back into the swing of things, and we literally have a whale of a show today. Something that it's whale watching season right now here in Rocky Point. And as a realtor, people ask me a lot of questions about the whales, and sadly, I don't always have the answers. So I figured I would go out on my own and find an expert to tell us about that. So we have Dr. Heckel. Am I saying that right?
Yes, you're right.
We talked briefly just before the show. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and what got you into your situation with the whales that you're doing now?
Yes, well, first, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to be able to get to an audience that speaks English and lives actually at Rocky Point. Well, I was born and raised in Mexico City from German, Polish immigrant families, and I grew up there, not knowing anything about whales nor dolphins, not in my picture. But I did my undergraduate studies in biology at the National University of Mexico, UNAM. And during my studies, I found that marine mammals in general were fascinating. I studied everything in biology from microbiology to terrestrial biology and finally marine biology. And that's how I made up my mind to study marine mammals in general. So during my undergraduate studies, I didn't really know anything about conservation. But then I moved to Ensenada in Baja California, Mexico, on the west coast of the Baja Peninsula. And there I did a master's and doctoral degree in coastal oceanography because my undergraduate thesis was on dolphins in Veracruz, Mexico. Veracruz is a state in eastern Mexico, bordering the Gulf of Mexico, and I studied their distribution of the distribution of bottlenose dolphins, and I couldn't understand why they were where I found them. So after reviewing the literature, I found that oceanography was the key to understand that. So that's why I chose oceanography for my graduate studies. So I moved to Ensenada, and during my master's, I again had to do a thesis, and it was on the evasive behavior of dolphins in tuna nets. You see, the tuna fishery uses dolphins to catch tuna. Dolphins are used as a clue to find adult tuna. And interestingly, observers are placed above on the boat to observe the dolphins' behavior. So I had a lot of data of evasive behavior observation. So I did this study, but during that study, I had to understand what the tuna dolphin problem was because lots of dolphins died during the 60s and 70s in tuna nets. So the United States made an embargo, at least two embargoes on Mexican tuna import due to this dying of dolphins in tuna nets. So observer programs were installed, and all this observation was done, and many other measures were taken. But there was also a lot of politics involved between not only the United States and Mexico, but also of other countries that fish tuna in the Eastern Tropical Pacific. So that was my first glimpse at conservation problems. I didn't mention anything about this in my thesis because it was a completely scientific study. But I had to talk a lot, and actually, I found it so difficult to understand the problem and the implications for science that I decided not to continue in that area. So during my PhD, interestingly, I was proposed to study the the effect of whale watching boats on the behavior of gray whales in Ensenada, Mexico. So I took up that study, and again, I found and I was guided by my advisor, Dr. Ileana Espejel, from the University of Baja California, where I did my graduate studies, uh, to have a holistic view of this. That is, to, to propose a management plan, not only based on the biological study, but also on social problem and the political problem and even the law involved in whale watching. So that opened a whole new universe to me. Well, not so new, but it had to do with whale watching. And when I wrote my thesis, I found that it was a very interesting conservation problem all around the world because whale watching has grown exponentially since it started everywhere in the world, from
Hmm.
New Zealand to the United States to Canada to Mexico, everywhere. And in Mexico, in particular, whale watching was informal since the 1960s and became more formal until the 1990s. I mean, formal in the sense that a law was issued to guide the correct way of whale watching.
And when you say the correct way of whale watching, what do you mean by that?
Well, there are some guiding lines that all good whale watching boat captains should know, and
Hmm.
it is that the whales should be approached from the from behind and from the side, not to disturb them. And
Okay.
also uh, uh, other rules that are in Mexico that are under this law uh, mean that only two boats can be in the vicinity of the whales and at distances that vary according to the species and the site where whale watching occurs. So only a certain amount of boats and at a minimum distance and
Oh,
not approaching too close,
right.
among other things to observe.
Can you talk about the type of whales that are in the Sea of Cortez, specifically, say here in Rocky Point?
Well, yes, of course, there is a high biodiversity, not only of whales, but also of dolphins in the Gulf of California. And also pinniped sea lions are also there on the islands. And well, how many species we can find? If I recall, about five species of whales
Hmm.
and on the eastern coast of the Gulf, that is on the coast of Sonora, you can find during the whale watching season that is right now in December. I mean in the winter, from December to March, even beginning of spring, you can see mostly fin whales and humpback whales.
Okay.
Every now and then, maybe a gray whale will venture into the upper Gulf, but gray whales are more on the western side, on the western side of the Baja California Peninsula, where they breed.
Okay.
Um, but yes, fin whales and humpback whales would be the most common species to see there.
And what is the largest one of those?
The fin whale, undoubtedly.
Well,
It's the second largest whale after the blue whale, and maybe blue whales can also be encountered, but that would be also seldom.
okay. And can you discuss the migration that whales do for here? Is it true that they come here to have their babies?
Uh, well, they should because uh, fin whales, very interesting in the Gulf of California, are a resident population. They travel around the Gulf during the year, and they seem to be more abundant in the southwestern Gulf or the southern Gulf during the warmer months, and on the western coast. I'm sure they are on the northwestern coast in Bahia de Los Angeles. If that rings a bell, it's a small town uh, southwest of uh, Puerto Peñasco, but in Baja California. And I'm sure they are there in the summer, from the spring to the summer during the warm season. And in the cold season, they are on the eastern coast of the Gulf, that is in Puerto Peñasco. So there is no such thing really as a migration as it would be understood. For example, the gray whale, where we know exactly that they breed and they give birth to their young in the winter months and then migrate very far north to the Gulf of Alaska and the Beaufort Sea, the very north end of the hemisphere, to forage. And with resident fin whales, we can only assume that they eat all year long. The thing is that they eat either krill or sardines, mostly krill they prefer. But according to the seasons, they would move also according to food availability.
Does the
And for
water
humpback whales,
temperature does the water temperature have a factor in where they prefer to be?
well, not directly on the whales, because whales are mammals, and as we are mammals, they also regulate their temperature. So they are not affected directly by cold or warm water because they can physiologically control their temperature as we do, but their prey is affected by temperature because temperature is a major driver of changes in the ocean. So with uh, warm temperature, you have more sardines, and with cold temperature, you have more krill. So that's what would actually uh, have whales traveling from one side to another uh, according to temperature, but it's more according to prey availability. And yes, they breed. They have to breed in the Gulf because they are a resident population that is known by genetic studies done about 20 or more years ago. Uh, but it is not known where exactly they breed and where they have their young. There is no such thing as a breeding site
Okay.
as it is known for the gray whale.
Okay. And can you talk about like the personality, I guess, of a whale? It seems to me when I go out to watch them, they um, are very curious, and it's like they come to the boat. They seem like they like it, and they like to follow them.
Yes, they do. Well, I haven't done any whale watching at Rocky Point, but yes, I have studied the whales in Bahia de Los Angeles, as I said, and I didn't experience this approaching of the boat. That is well known for gray whales in San Ignacio and Guerrero Negro lagoons and Bahia Magdalena, where whales actually approach the boat. They are very curious.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But in the case of fin whales, I didn't actually have experienced any of that curious behavior, but it was quite easy to approach them, to take pictures, take the data, and have a lot of information to have our studies done.
Hmm.
Uh, they 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 I can't say they have personalities as such, but they move around just doing what they do. And what can be very exciting is to see them when they are breeding. Once I had a special moment in that we were uh, following a group of four fin whales, and they were swimming quite fast, and they were actually kind of pursuing another whale. And uh, um, what we concluded from that behavior is that it was a breeding group, because they were actually competing to have access to the female.
Oh, wow.
We took samples from the whales, skin samples from the whales, and we could determine the sex of the whales. And we found out from our behavioral observations, from the photographs, that we could identify the whales individually and the sex of each of the individuals, that those were actually three males in pursuit of a female, and they were competing among them, slashing with their tails to have access to the female. So this is a competitive group. That is something that happens very often. Is well described for humpback whales
Okay.
in their breeding grounds. But I didn't know that fin whales would do the same thing. So that was quite amazing, and it was very exciting to watch that behavior.
So are whales, like, are they, let's say someone fell off the boat and, you know, went into the water. Whales are not dangerous that way to a human, are they?
No, no, they're not. No, no, they're not dangerous at all. They are curious. First, if someone falls in the water, the first thing that may happen is that the whales will swim away because they get scared from the
Okay.
splashing. Uh, and uh, and on other occasions, when people have entered the water to swim with them, in Mexico, that's not allowed, but it's allowed in other sites, like in Hawaii.
Hmm.
It is allowed to swim with whales. In Mexico, it's not allowed. But when people get into the water, then whales become curious, and they approach people, I have read, in Hawaii, and are very, very careful uh, around people. They of course, would have the strength and the ability to slap once a person and kill her or him, and they simply don't do that. They
Hmm.
don't eat humans. They can't. They don't have they don't need meat to survive.
Okay.
They well they do eat fish and krill, but they don't eat meat, and they can't, because they don't have teeth. They have actually baleen that they use to filter the food, so they wouldn't capture with. They don't have teeth to
So they
capture.
can't chew, in other words.
No, they can't chew.
Is
And their
there
throat mustn't be too big. Their throat isn't too big, so they couldn't swallow us.
a person? So if someone's going out to watch whales, is there a better time of the day? Does it matter that you or can be assured that you'll be able to see one?
Uh, Nothing's for sure.
Right.
because they are not in a fish tank or a whale tank. So if you go out, you have to expect that you will have to drive for hours uh, to find the whales, most probably. There is no exact time of the day. They are just there during the night and during the day. It's just a matter that the captain of the boat uh, searches uh, at low speed of the boat. And yes, and what matters a lot is the wind. If it will be a windy day, it will not be good to go out to
Okay.
look for whales because the wind chops the water, and that chopping conceals the blows. The blows are the first sign you usually have of a whale,
Oh,
and so the chopping will conceal the whale. And also another caveat of that is that it's very uncomfortable to navigate on a
sure.
during windy weather. You get wet, you maybe get seasick.
Yeah.
So it's better to find the best conditions, and for that you have to go out very early in the morning. 7 a.m. would be a good time just to find no wind conditions. Although in the northern Gulf, very often there is northern wind
Hmm.
since early in the morning. So it's up to you. You can check an app that is called Windy, and there you can see the wind conditions.
Okay.
If you see that early in the morning the wind will be uh, 10 knots or higher, don't go out. Don't go because it's windy, it's choppy, and it's uncomfortable.
What about the worldwide situation as far as conservation? What is the state with the whale population? Are there any that are endangered, or do we have to be concerned that there's less whales than there used to be?
Well, yes, but this is a consequence more of whaling, of hunting of whales that occurred uh, until 1986 when the International Whaling Commission set a moratorium on whaling. That is, it banned uh, commercial whaling all around the world for uh, participating countries, of course. Uh, One of the species that was more affected by whaling was the right whale, and the right whale population in northeastern United States is very small. It's endangered. Only about 400 individuals survive. They are in the Gulf of Maine. They come there, and well, good conservation measures have been placed by the U.S. government. Another population that is also un, I'm not sure if the status endangered applies,
Hmm.
but it is in low numbers in in the Mediterranean Sea, the fin whale population in the Mediterranean Sea. So those are the populations that we should care about,
Of course.
and also the Western Pacific gray whale population is also very small, also under 500 individuals. I don't know exactly the number, don't remember, but it's because that population was also exposed to whaling for too long. Otherwise, all around the world, uh, whales are in good numbers. Their populations are in good numbers, and they are doing what they do. They breed, they forage, they migrate, and they are there for us to watch them.
Yeah, that's so. I actually was living here, and I was always busy at work, so I didn't. I never had time to go on a whale watching. And my friends actually said, "We got you a ticket. You're going to whale watching," and it was so it's so amazing because they're just so majestic and beautiful, which is why
Yes, they are
I'm sure
monsters.
that's why you wanted to study them.
Yes, they are monsters. They are so large and so impressive.
Yeah.
The first time I saw a whale, I was fascinated, and that's why I decided to dedicate my life to study them. And it was curious that I saw the first whale I saw was a gray whale, and it was well down south in Banderas Bay, that is where Puerto Vallarta is located.
Hmm.
And gray whales usually don't go that far south, but it was a La Nina year, a year when water temperature is quite cold,
Uh-huh.
so they guide their southward migration uh, according to the temperature, and when they reach the temperature of around 17 degrees, they assume they are at their breeding grounds on the western Baja California Peninsula. But in cold years, this 17-degree uh, temperature of water goes far south. So I understood this much later on in my career, because I only knew that the water was too cold to take a bath, because we bathed in the sea. There were no showers, there was no hotel. We camped there. Um, we went into the water and it felt terribly cold, while in the summer we could bath with no problem. But when I saw this whale, I was really fascinated, and I'm still fascinated. I have seen many whales and different species, and still when I go out, I get very excited.
Wow. Have you been to Puerto Peñasco before? Have you been
Oh,
here?
just once. Unfortunately, only
Oh, we
once
would
on
love to
a,
have you come for a visit.
yeah. Yes, I'd love to. I'd love to. I only went on a field trip that had nothing to do with whales. It was actually on a conservation course I took at during my master's, when we went to Puerto Peñasco, and it was just with another view and more terrestrial studies during that time.
Yeah, we'd love to have you come for a visit one day.
Thank you. Yes, I will do so.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I learned a lot about whales. I know there's a bunch of people going next weekend. Me and my friends are going on a tour. So the captain, he finds them by watching for the blow. That's how they look for them.
Yes, for the blow, but these the captains and the fishermen have an incredibly uh, sighting sense. I mean, they see very far away,
Yeah.
and sometimes they see only the back of the whale, and that's
Uh-huh.
enough for them to 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 spot them. So they are incredible. But watch out when you're on the boat. Look for blows. Look
Okay.
for the blow, and then you can see Darcy blows, as
Oh yeah.
whalers say, and then you can guide the captain to see to
Yes.
approach the whale.
Absolutely. Looking forward. Thank you again so much and have a wonderful weekend.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me, and you
Yeah.
too have a very good weekend.
Thank you. Bye bye.